If you want to go with the flow, live in the moment, wind in your hair kind of life, you need a forward-thinking, prepared for anything kind of plan. Like the Audi Freeway Plan Extension. It extends your Audi's maintenance plan by an extra 2 years or up to 200,000 kilometers. And with free roadside assistance, living in the moment has never gone more according to plan. Visit your nearest Audi dealer today. T's and C's apply. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik.
We change tack now. It's 20 minutes to 2 o'clock. There's an interesting gathering that is going to be happening. And this has to do with conscious leadership. So there is a call to embed conscious leadership into the educational system. There will be an undertaking to provide the insights and curriculum, to develop curriculum for universities. And the conversations will be happening in conjunction with the Department of Higher Education. So we'll be speaking to Brenda Kali in a moment. She is the CEO of Conscious Company. She's also the founder of Conscious Leadership, because on the 16th, they're going to be having their quarterly Conscious Leadership Dialogue, which is a national conversation to create a collective understanding of conscious leadership in action. That they have quite a panel, and I'll let Brenda tell us a little bit more about the conversation. But firstly, what exactly is conscious leadership? We've had so many different conversations around leadership, servant leadership. There was a time when certain qualities of leadership were emphasized more than others. And now we're in an era, I guess, with where the world is currently, when we're asking for conscious leadership. And Brenda joins us now on the line. Good afternoon, Brenda.
Hello, Azania.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us. But firstly, you had actually been working for some time on this question. You want to encourage, you've been wanting to encourage more ethical manner of doing business. Just take me through part of the history of how we got to where we are with the Conscious Leadership Academy.
Well, it started 3 years ago. You know, I was wanting to retire to the coast, and after meditation, Conscious Company was born on a scribble on a page in the middle of the night. So I started the Conscious Companies Awards, and there was such a lack of understanding of what consciousness is all about. And you know, what is conscious leadership? It's not some esoteric pie in the sky. And that's initially CEOs laughed at me when I mooted the concept to them. They said, "What are you selling, Brenda? It's like some esoteric pie in the sky." It's not. It's very tangible. It's about the actions and behavior of leadership. You know, my mantra is, conscious leaders shape conscious companies. And if a leader is not conscious, the company is toxic. And after having been in the corporate space for over 35 years, as an executive, I realized human beings go into a corporate space and they change behavior. And yet our innate core being is about nobility and love and kindness. And yet we lose all that when we go into a corporate space. And we make it okay to stand and trample on the shoulders of others.
We reward that behavior. So what does a conscious leader, what are the characteristics, the qualities of a conscious leader? Because it sounds like there's a lot of internal work that needs to take place, that
Definitely.
You start by being, and then it will be evident to all those that you lead and all those that are looking to you for leadership.
Look at the great leaders of our time, you know, Madiba, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Viktor Frankl. What were their characteristics? You know, they displayed unprecedented wisdom, clarity of thought, humility, truth, altruistic love, empathy, patience. And these were the characteristics, and they were all very authentic. None of them were perfect. And, you know, we come from a space of we're not perfect, but just fess up. If you have made a mistake, fess up and do the right thing. And that's the caliber of great leadership. You know, yesterday's City Press had this huge headline of SA's leadership crisis. And every week, the newspapers, the media scream of our leadership crisis. What are we doing to rectify that? And that's why the Conscious Leadership Academy was born in partnership with Regenesis. And you know, Azania, it's historical. It's a landmark that we offer the first Conscious Leadership MBA in Africa. That's huge for this country. It really is. And conscious leadership is really about not being perfect. It's just about being authentic. It's just in terms of who you are. What is consciousness? Let's define what's consciousness, because most people don't understand what consciousness is. They think there's some Eastern philosophy.
Right.
It's deep awareness of one's thoughts, actions, behavior, and reactions. It's seeing beyond the senses. It's knowing beyond logic. That's what consciousness is about.
Yeah, and that's why I want us to stay there a little bit longer, because when this is you are now asking people to not just look at what they're exhibiting outside, but to look at the well from which they are drawing from and what is within that well. Are they ethical? Are they authentic? Are they purpose-driven, for instance? So all of these things entail not just you climbing up the corporate ladder and being able to deliver on the bottom line, but it speaks to the kind of person that you are, the approach that you have to the world and to fellow humanity. It's very broad. It speaks of being mindful. It speaks to the spiritual side of individuals.
Yes. It really talks to one's core. And if you are in a leadership position, you have a huge responsibility to enrich and influence the lives of others who report to you, to touch people's lives, to be in service. The tagline for conscious companies is to align people, planet, and profit in service of all stakeholders. Now, that's a huge ask. And that is why we award a company with the Conscious Companies Award. With that, whichever company, and out of 82 nominations, it gets shortlisted to 6. And Professor Mervyn King, who's the global guru of governance, he's on the panel of judges. But they understand ethics and they understand governance. But it just becomes a compliance method. Yet, if you are not conscious, you cannot be ethical and you cannot apply governance. So consciousness is really an innate part of who we are. We're all born with consciousness. I always say, like 50 Shades of Grey, there's 50 Shades of Consciousness. People operate at different energy level spectrums.
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember, I think it was the CEO of LinkedIn, Jeff Weiner, who spoke quite passionately about the journey that he underwent, because now he's seen as someone who is leading as far as leading with compassion is concerned.
That's right.
And the moment when he realized that as a leader within an organization, he was not leading with compassion. He was not leading in a way that didn't make people feel dehumanized when they went home or feel that they were not enough, they were inadequate. Yes, of course, there are those deliverables, but you have to also consider the human being that you are dealing with. And the turnaround, or his realization, has helped to bring about a very different culture within LinkedIn, and a company that is viewed very differently by the professionals that work within it and the other stakeholders around it. I think the time is right around the world for this push for conscious leadership, because more and more people are awakening to its value.
Absolutely. Azania, it's just globally, we're in such a mess at the moment. And you cannot have corporate transformation without personal transformation.
Yeah.
So as a leader, it takes a different kind of being to recognize what consciousness means and to really reach out to those who look up to you. Well, that's why companies get into trouble, because, I just heard the news now, and we talk about the looting and the greed. It's just, we seem to be in a pit at the moment, and there is hope.
And dare I say that we're also not looking at what drives that. We just put it down, yes, to greed, and to that kind of, to corruption and criminal behavior. But within those individuals that we've put in these high offices, what is it within them that drives these kinds of behavior? And so many of us find all sorts of other coping mechanisms, and toxic behavior, things like drinking, we gossip, we avoid responsibilities, we play it safe, and we don't really take or think about our role within a broader concept. We don't see it within the broader prism and the ripple effects of what we do.
Sure, but there's a keen sense of transformation. If you look at yourself and you're not happy, or you're not happy to look in the mirror every day, then you will have to do something about it. And there are tools. That's why the conscious leadership programs and the conscious leadership masterclasses that are on offer. As South Africans, we should be very proud of this nation because we have a legacy of Madiba. And we should learn from that. We should learn from his leadership. But I think it's a culture of greed and need and deprivation that has really is driving leadership at the moment. It's strange. A leader that I spoke to about consciousness asked me, "What are you trying to do, Brenda?" It seems to really, I understand governance and ethics. I do not understand what consciousness is about. Yeah. And I had to take him through baby steps to explain to him what consciousness is really about and what the academy is about and what the programs are about.
All right, Brenda, let's take a break and maybe when
national conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when we see the kind of leadership crisis that we're seeing at the moment, because you do have to wonder. I think Brenda put it well. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror every day, then there's a problem. There's a problem with your conduct, with your ethics, with whether or not this is purpose-driven work. And I think those are important questions that we hardly ever spend enough time pondering as far as leadership is concerned. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Do you think there's even room for consciousness within the business environment, within the leadership environment, that it is such a tough environment that you can't really even extend or afford enough space, or you couldn't have enough space for such things, such much softer issues that have to do with that engine, the inner engine of an individual. That businesses are here to make money, and now we're saying, try and be more empathetic, try and be more compassionate, try and be more conscious. Is this too much of an ask? Or maybe there are leaders that you've seen also act with consciousness or lead with consciousness. What kind of things did they exhibit? I'd really love to hear your views on this. 011-883-0702, 31702 for your SMSs.
702. SMS Azania on 31702.
6 minutes to 2 o'clock. We're looking at conscious leadership. There's a great book, by the way, as well, by Bob Townsend. The book is called Up the Organization. And it is great because he talks about leadership building without ego. And I know wherever you are, if you're within the corporate space, you're probably thinking, it doesn't exist, that so many leaders, of course, have egos, and there's a place for egos, certainly. But that so much of how they got to where they are is ego driven. We've got Brenda Cully, the CEO of Conscious Companies and the founder of the Conscious Leadership Academy with us. Brenda, so
yes,
what a lot of us also don't understand is that, and I saw this recently with a friend who's a professional whose career is their career has taken a completely different turn because of some of the changes that they've made to what they consume, what they surround themselves with, the changes that they've made in terms of their outlook on the world. And their audience, their followers, their fans, or the clients that they deal with, and they were saying that they're actually, looking back now, inspired by how you show up in the world. It's not what you do, but it is how you do it, the way in which you do it. Would you agree with that when you lead with consciousness, this is sort of the consequence?
Absolutely. We all operate at different energy levels. And if you resonate, we all live in a vibrational energy space. And if you operate it at a certain energy level, you cannot not help but be conscious. Be aware, deeply aware of your actions and your thoughts and your feelings. And that's what leadership should be about. That is why what you were talking about, these leaders, they are present every day, every moment in their thoughts. A journalist asked a Buddhist monk, how does he operate in this environment that is so chaotic and toxic? How does he keep his own spirituality? And the Buddhist monk turned to him, and this is a true story, turned to him and laughed and said, I eat when I eat, and I sleep when I sleep. So it's being in that moment of presence.
Yeah. Always. No, so the detail, is this open to the public, by the way, because it's an impressive panel that will be gathered on the 16th, and it will be interesting to see as well what happens with the inclusion of conscious leadership in the curriculum.
Well, I'm hoping, we are a nation of talkers. There's talk shops and there's round tables and there's panel discussions almost every week throughout the nation.
Yeah.
But nothing gets done, nothing gets implemented. And I thought out of all the conscious leadership conversations we've had, we're going to take it to the Department of Education and see if they can embed conscious leadership some way into their higher education system. That's where it starts. That's where it actually germinates.
Well, all of the best on Thursday with this quarterly conscious leadership dialogue. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you. Can I just say one word? When you can find no more conscious leaders to follow, you must become one. Thank you.
Challenge to all of us. Thank you. That's Brenda Cully, the CEO of Conscious Companies, as well as the founder of the Conscious Leadership Academy. I can only imagine what that course would look like, what that MBA would look like, that it would have all sorts of spiritual gurus providing part of that curriculum. And probably I think it is time that we teach and allow people to tap into other resources.